All right. Hi, folks. For those watching the recording, my name is. We have someone who came in just now. We'll get introduce ourselves a little bit after. It is so wonderful to be here, and I'm going to be kind of sharing a little bit about the importance of centering storytelling and purpose in developing your 5 minute pitches. For many of you watching the videos, you're going to be in round two mode, right? You've got this. You got like what 8 days or something to prepare and create this 5 minute video. You're in this pressure of like, oh my gosh, how are we going to present? And here we're going to really talk about some of those elements of the video. And one big kind of key thing is going to be this idea of starting with why. A little bit about myself. I know I introduced myself earlier on at a high level, and I'll go into a little bit more to detail. So my name is Shitangshu. I'm a Bengali Canadian who actually should say this slide. This should be corrected. I used to work in Kyrgyzstan, but actually this year I came back to Canada. And one of my kind of things is I've been on your shoes. I've been the youth innovator who's developed various ventures, some successfully, some not. I have sometimes lost money and time, and it's been lots of sweat trying to keep things going. And then equally, there have also been several ventures which have done really well, reached tens of thousands, and it's kind of crazy to be like, oh my gosh, this thing which a couple of friends drew up, has suddenly had this kind of impact. And so that's why I'm here in large part, is this kind of sense of, you know what, how can we give back to a youth innovation ecosystem that has given so much to us? By the way, a big welcome to our new folks who have come in. We just introductions would welcome if you folks introduce yourself a little bit in the chat if you haven't had a chance. Now, I've had lots of hats. I most recently worked with the Aga Khan Foundation before YC. And that was where I was in Kyrgyzstan. I've worked at the Youth Impact Challenge, the Oath Project as well. The Oath Project is an environmental nonprofit whose acronym stands for One Act at a Time to Help the Earth. This is kind of one of my baby ventures that continues to grow and make its own impact. It's now actually called One for Earth. We had a recent rebrand. And one of the things that's kind of centered in that organization, but also at YC generally, is this proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I really want to highlight this because you know what? I know that sometimes when you're in summer challenge mode, you can be tempting to look at this as this kind of competitive thing. Oh my gosh, you know what? We got to be the best, best, best. But I really encourage you folks to reflect on how we are all young people trying to, make the world just a little bit better. And each of us is bringing in certain elements to the pie. Some of us are working in healthcare, some of us are working in environmental piece, some of us are working in the art piece, some of us are like exploring the intersection of all these things, and we're really in it together, folks. And I want to encourage y'all to kind of connect. I remember someone said that, hey, you know what, I'm in Halifax, I'm thinking to move to Calgary. But we have people who are in Calgary, right? And so this is an opportunity to also network and be like, hey, maybe there's a way that you can support. I can support your work. One thing I really loved last year actually is there were a lot of kind of these interconnections amongst teams who are quote unquote supposed to be competing, and so I want you folks to reflect on that proverb that hey. You know what? If you want to go fast, you can go alone. And sure, you can do a lot of cool things alone. But if you want to really make meaningful impact, it is kind of doing it as a collective. And this is partly why for us at YC, it's not just about running a good competition, but perhaps more than that, it's creating a strong community. And shout out here to Nidhi as well, who has joined our team. Nidhi, I know you introduced yourself already a bit, but can you just introduce just a little bit for the audience here?
Yeah, so my name is Nidhi. I'm an education coordinator here at YIC, so which basically means I help sort of with the tech and back end support of these workshops for all the participants. And I was a previous participant of the YIC. Maybe you've heard of it, but it's a organization called Biospecs, which is basically a youth summer camp we run every year for underprivileged populations in STEM. And yeah, the YC, really helped us get our organization off the ground. And actually, fun fact, this year we expanded from Toronto to also Ottawa. So that's pretty cool.
Nidhi, I didn't even know that. That's amazing. The number of times we hear stories of what our youth do, it just blows my mind. One of your folks, they were connected with this mentor who is producing this film exploring children's rights, and it was like, Oh my gosh. I didn't even know this mentor was doing this. This was like a little bit before I started with the organization. It's just incredible to see where a lot of these youth go. Something that Nidia and I have been talking about too is, you know what? Some of your ventures are going to go far, but there's also one thing we can, but I can't, I don't, I'll be honest in saying some of them won't. But this is all, I can almost say this with a guarantee that as people and as leaders, each of you are going to make an impact, right? It may or may not be with the venture you're working on today, but you folks, each of you will make an impact. And I'm just excited to see where all of you go and and NYC is just grateful to be even a small part of that journey. So with that, folks, I just want to say congratulations. If you're on this call, I believe most of you, and even if you didn't get in top 20, it is incredible to for you folks to have made this commitment to put out your ideas, really refine it, just try and make something happen. So congratulations for having the initiative to get off the couch, so to speak, and do something to change the world. Congratulations for working together as a team on with short timelines. And we heard about people who, some of them, they just heard about the challenge like the day before. But even with tight times, many of you folks have still put applications together, and you are here, and that honestly needs to be commended. So really appreciate all of you, and just congratulations for just being here, and thank you all for being you. I'm going to be sharing a few things today, and there's going to be, and I know that sometimes you might be like, "Hey, we're not talking about the pitch right now," but just trust me, there's a little bit of a point to things. I will let you know this is going to be a very interactive kind of thing. There have been times I'm going to ask you questions, and there's there, and I really want some engagement. In particular, there's been times when we're going to be like, for example, comparing and contrasting a couple historic pitches, and there will be an opportunity there to for you folks to give feedback and to look at how there's diverse pitches which still are really good in their own ways. There's also going to be an opportunity for you folks to explore certain concepts like the Golden Circle, Ikigai, etc., and kind of share what you know about those concepts, but then equally learn from the group. One thing I want to really highlight is, I have a little bit of knowledge, sure, I'm a bit on the older side of youth, so with that comes a little bit of, a little bit more each year. But I'm going to be honest with you, the collective knowledge in this room is really what is going to drive this workshop. So I really encourage folks to participate because whatever little thing that I might have to impart is nothing compared to the collective and what you folks all have in terms of collective experience. So there's a few different things we're going to talk about. Is a concept called Ikigai. We're going to talk about this concept of the Golden Circle and starting with why. We're going to talk about how to design your pitch video and kind of integrate those both of those concepts into that. We're going to do a compare and contrast exercise. We're going to look at a couple historic pitches, and then we're going to go through your rubric. And then we're also going to take a little bit of a moment to just kind of reflect on the final steps and just make sure everyone's aligned in terms of, hey, we're at, what is it? 8, you have until the 11th, I believe. You got what, 3 days-ish, what exactly, are the kind of key things that you need to deliver. So yeah, excited about all that. Um, any questions so far on agenda and things like that? Logistics? Raise your hand if you do. If not, we will continue. Okay, awesome. Welcome, Skylar, Eden, Manur, and others. I'd love if you folks can introduce yourself a little bit in the chat. We did some intros right before, and it would be just grateful to have all of you here. Manur might ask you you're on your team to hang out for a little bit at the very end for a very specific reason. I want to introduce a concept here. It's called Ikigai. Has anyone heard of Ikigai ever? Raise your hand if you have. I know one person who did this workshop last year who definitely has heard of it. Okay. If you haven't heard of it, I'll share a bit, and then we'll kind of go from there. So Ikigai is a Japanese concept that translates to the reason to live or your life purpose. It reflects on the fact that there's so many aspects of ourselves, and a part of your journey is as young people, as people, not even say young people, as people is to kind of find those intersections between those things that we love. but also that the world needs, what you can be paid for, what you're good at, that kind of thing. Sometimes there's a reality that, hey, I'm, for example, really good at, I enjoy numbers, right? I like numbers. It's actually something I'm good at. I enjoy to a certain extent, but isn't necessarily my passion and the thing. And so, you know what, that might represent something which I'm good at and I can be paid for. So it's a bit of a profession. But, the challenge for me then is to say that, okay, you know what? An accountant might be for some people, and that might be what drives certain people. But for me, that would just be a profession. But can we excel? Can we kind of excel and try and find a way that can be turned into an ikigai? So, or equally, you know what? I might be, really good at what's something I'm not very good at soccer, but like let's say I'm very good at soccer is something I love, but I'm not maybe at that level to really be a professional player. That might represent a passion and a very beautiful passion, but then it might be something that gets as hard to kind of turn into a vocation or profession and something that should actually pay and kind of pay my bills. And then equally, there's certain things which you love and the world needs, and like even some of the work that I do with the Oath Project and One for Earth, those are mission driven, right? Like, and that mission is really important. But the challenge has been that particular venture, it's one which to kind of sustain it has been a challenge, and so it's not necessarily one which I've as yet found a way to also kind of sustain my kind of needs as well. And so the kind of concept that here is how do you find that life purpose, which is that intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Why do we bring this up? Because folks, as you kind of go through and build your projects and you really think about your video, I wanted to really center, what is the point of us doing this project? Are you doing this as an academic exercise? Are you doing it just because, you want to get, some money and it's kind of fun? And maybe, yeah, you know what? It very well might be, and that might be part of it. But if you're here, there are also stakeholders that you are impacting, right? Because you have some kind of social impact project or environmental impact project. And really think about, if you're here, there may be a story that you have that actually inspired you to create this venture. And I want you to really center kind of that purpose as you develop your project, but then equally as you communicate this to an audience. So there's a lot here. And to be fair, there's books on this thing. I really encourage you folks to explore Ikigai in even more depth. We actually have another workshop that we do where we break it down into like pieces and everything. Although it's with the amount of content in this particular workshop, I'll just share this much, and it's one that I find very valuable to kind of start with. But any questions on that? If not, we're going to now uh, ask you folks to reflect on this. Uh, when you think about how you market yourself or where, how you kind of spend your efforts, where you put your energy, we are going to challenge you folks to start with why. What does that mean? Well, let me show you a video. And we're going to just have a discussion on the video. As you watch the video, I want you folks to reflect on how might this apply to your pitch, your idea. Well, actually, let's start with it. How might it apply to your idea? And then also think about how it might apply to your pitch. And we're going to break down the concept within this video of the golden circle and starting with why in a little bit more depth. So I'm going to share a video here. Note that I'm just going to go stop screen sharing for a little bit just to make sure that I'm sharing in a way which will have audio. One moment. Simon Sinek. Excellent. There, share sound, optimize video sharing. Please let me know if you cannot hear for any reasons. Okay, we're going to watch about 2 minutes-ish and have a bit of a discussion on the concept of starting with why and the golden circle.
Probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the Golden Circle. This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, but very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. By why, I mean what's your purpose, what's your cause, what's your belief, and why should anyone care? The inspired leaders and the inspired organizations all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this: we make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. If you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. The first...
I'm going to pause there. There's actually quite a lot of different concepts that Simon Sinek talks about. Does anyone know who Simon Sinek is? Who is the Simon Sinek character? Raise your hand.
I think I am reading a book by him.
Lovely.
Yeah, I think it
What's the
says
book?
start with a why.
There you go. This is literally,
Yeah.
he wrote a book on this whole concept. And Yared, who is Simon Sinek?
His background, I don't know, but his book is very, very good. Like it breaks things very deep, and yeah, it's wonderful.
Excellent.
I advise everyone read it.
What is one takeaway you have from his book so far?
Well, yeah, I would say it doesn't matter what you are. Well, it does matter what and how you do things, but it always comes to why you are doing it whenever you are
There you
doing
go.
something. So if you don't know why, no one would know why you do things, and no one will buy from you or even do business with you.
There you go. 100%. All right. Thank you, Yared. I appreciate that. Anyone else in terms of Simon Sinek? Anyone else who knows him a little bit who might want to share? I think Garrett, you covered so much there. And yeah, so Simon Sinek, he's I'll say a business author. He's had some ventures as well, and been quite successful. And he's I'll say, but sometimes I find a lot of these business authors a little bit like airy fairy and too pie in the sky. I think one thing I like about Simon Sinek, there's a groundedness to him, and there's a more of a relevance to impact work than with some other authors. I think to get what Yared said, there's when you reflect on this kind of concept of the golden circle, there's a real thing that we need to kind of tackle, which is this idea of what is the point of us doing the thing? Because as Yared said, you know what, we might be doing a lot of things, and think about this. When someone introduces themselves, it is so common. Let me ask you, what is the first thing that people often do when they introduce themselves to you? What is the first thing they often say? All right, folks, we need participation. When someone introduces themselves to you, what is usually the first thing about them that they tell you?
Their name?
Their job?
Their job. So my name is, okay, you're right. And the second thing is what?
Their job.
Their job, right? Is what they do, right? Is what they do. They don't start with, hey, you know what, I have a passion for youth innovation. They start with, I'm executive director of YC. To be honest, I think I might have done that myself. And it's one of these things that you have to almost unlearn this. They might say where they're from, and this what often is kind of missing is this force of, hey, why are you doing the thing you're doing? And in fact, in your ventures, I want you to really think about, many of you will be obsessed with, we need to tell our audience what we're doing, but really, really, really highlight that why. And that why might be highlighted in very different ways, right? For some of you, it might be about, this is my personal story that I am sharing with you. And it's not just about the fact that, I'm, creating, let's say, hackathons or ideathons and whatnot. It is because I am seeing a gap in the space when it comes to innovation, and I am building something for that space. And it may be that, your why comes from stories of people you've talked about. By the way, I'm going to be recording a workshop and kind of sharing a recording. It centers around market research. One of the things, probably the thing that set aside the top 20 teams from everyone else was stakeholder research. And it was people who actually talked to real people. So many of you have been going around talking to real people. If you have not talked to real people, you really should be talking to real people and really understand your why from the perspective of the people you're trying to impact. So the core of the message I'm going to share with you here today is to start at the center with that purpose and the why. And you know what? From there are things like your values that are also important. So, for example, at a Youth Impact Challenge, our why is that we help young people turn their ideas into action, especially when we believe that those young people are the ones that are going to change the world. Now, we have certain values, and those are how, right? Our values are, for example, collaboration is one for values, and that means that we often are network builders. So we're going to connect you with a mentor. We're going to connect you with wonderful organizations like Ingenious Plus and League of Innovators and the Social Innovation Challenge and all these other things that are opportunities. And we are going to be, we are part of a broader ecosystem that is helping young innovators. So that's one of our values. Another value is around equity. And that means that, we don't necessarily always treat everyone the same, but depending on the circumstances, we may kind of customize the way that we work with you, right? So that's an important value that we have. And another value that we have is putting resources in young people's hands. You're going to see easy on the website, by the way. And that means that for us, we're not we don't dictate what you do with the money. We give you the money, and then, ultimately you may say that, hey, I actually would rather use it for school than this project. And that is your choice, right? We believe that ultimately you as the leader, as the leaders will know how best to utilize the funds that we give you. But the key thing here is underlying all of those values is a why, and that why of how do we help these young people develop as leaders so that they can be the change makers of the future and turn their ideas into action. Now, the what is, there's a lot of things that we can do. Right, we happen to be running a summer innovation challenge. So that's what the hell do we do? We run a summer innovation challenge. But the reality is, there's other things we could do. We could be running a podcast series on innovation, for example. We could be writing a book. There's a lot of different ways to kind of address the why. But one thing that we need to always come back to is even something that YC does, even when we create a new idea or concept, we are always linking it back to, does it actually move forward the mission of helping young people turn their ideas into action? And if it does not, then we hold back and we're like, okay, we may want to change this program concept. And so the idea here, folks, is use that centering of why and how you communicate and share your story in your video, but then equally think about how as you develop your projects, you may think that, okay, the biggest thing we need to do is create this feature and this feature and this feature. Well, whatever you do, whatever that what is, always come back to why are we doing this in the first place? And is it actually, is this thing that we want to do, is this value that we want to explore actually helping us move forward our central purpose? Okay. I'm going to do an exercise right now, but any questions on the concept so far? Any thoughts on the concept as well? Raise your hand if you would like. If not, then this is what I have. This is my question. I would like to challenge folks to articulate tell me about their project, but use all of these lessons that I have shared, right? So it might be tempting for you to say, hey, what is the Youth Impact Challenge? The Youth Impact Challenge delivers a summer program which gives funding to young people and mentorship as well, right? That's starting at the what, right? That's what most people do. They start at the what. And the challenge for you is to say Youth Impact Challenge is an organization which fundamentally exists to help young people turn their ideas into action, which we believe with values of collaboration, putting resources into young people's hands, and centering equity. And the way with the actual thing that we do is we happen to run things like a summer innovation challenge. So my challenge to you folks is to tell me about your project using that Golden Circle methodology. Who would like to go first? Tell you what, actually, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to give it 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, so at 52, we'll come back. And during this time, think about like maybe get a piece of paper and map things out. And I'd love if at least a couple of you are willing to share kind of what you come up with in terms of tell me about your project, but centered on that why. Are the instructions clear? Maybe give me a thumbs up. I need some reactions here, folks. Give me a thumbs up if the instructions are clear. Okay,
Sorry,
go for it.
just one more thing. We have a question in the chat, so I figured
Oh,
maybe we could answer the
sure.
question before we.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yes, the
Thank you, Nidhi. I think
question.
that heads up, it is hard for me to sometimes see the questions. So Nidhi, I love that.
Yes,
Okay, when so this is a question that we have
I
around.
can read it out.
Go ahead, Nidhi. Yeah.
The question is, when you are collecting stakeholder perspectives, how do you ensure stuff like ethics? For instance, if our
Mhm.
target audience is kids, how are you going to have to deal with things like parent and guardian permission?
Okay. This is a really, really I love this question. A couple things. One is recognize that different stakeholders require different treatments. And so, for example, the way you may need to engage with an indigenous community, where it is going to be different than the way you might engage with a government stakeholder, which is going to be different than the way you might engage with, let's say, kids as an market, right? Or and as an end stakeholder. And sometimes there's intersections in all of those. I would suggest that it is very important to reflect on the best practices of industry. And so, for example, if you're going to work with youth, it is important that you look at what are the best practices that have been established when it comes to folks researching on youth in terms of the standards that have been created. Do not, however, do this blindly and be like, okay, now I'm going to just follow the standard. You need to be critics and say that, okay, while this is the best practice, and there are clearly ways that certain groups have been excluded, when it came to getting their perspective. So a couple things I'm going to suggest there is with a critical eye, look at best practices in any kind of industry. Recognize number two is recognize how different stakeholders are fundamentally different. And the third thing, what do you think is going to be what I think is the most important thing? Nidhi, what do you think is the most important thing when it comes to how you should do this ethically? Who do you think we should ask and talk to?
When it comes to ethics, maybe do some research, see what your local boards and
Sure.
regulations are.
And who is the stakeholder that is most important? Or who is the person that we should be talking to in particular?
Our target audience.
Your target audience, exactly. Now, look, with kids, it's a little bit different in the sense that there may be some, legally speaking, you have to go through parents, but even there, that doesn't mean that, children are communicating all the time, right? How are we accounting for the fact that their communications are absolutely valid, and that has to shape how we may design something. So if we are designing something where it is clear that it is creating kind of instability or concern for a child, anxiety for a child, then that is your sign to be like, hold up, maybe the parent gave consent, but something is wrong with the way I'm doing research, right? So at every level, the what I would say is the most important is to really center the perspective of the stakeholder. Heads up that this is going to be the key thing that we are going to be talking about in the workshop that is going to be recorded tomorrow morning and shared with folks around centering stakeholder research. Love that question. All right, any other questions? Okay. In that case, folks, Let us give it until 56. Think about. I'll share the screen again. Just to ensure. Actually, what I'll do. I'm gonna take a picture and put it in the chat. Think about that golden circle. And my question to you would be, hey, can you tell me about your project? But this time, think about the golden circle as you articulate it. It's not just about, oh, this is what I'm doing. It's actually, how do you actually center that why? Uh, I'm putting a picture in the chat and giving folks until 56. Oh, all right. I will get a picture in the chat. I'm gonna just share the screen for now. Okay. Yeah, actually, I might just share the screen. It looks like there's some issues with sending the picture. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're gonna give it 3 minutes, folks, and I'll come back at 56. All right, folks, we'll give it 30 seconds to just let you kind of consolidate your thoughts, and then we'll get sharing. Alrighty, folks. Would love some shares. So who would like to share a little bit about explaining their idea with the golden circle? I'll stop screen sharing just so we can um, yeah, talk a little bit. Okay, raise your hand if you'd be open. I'd really love if people participate, folks. This workshop works when people participate. Thank you, Yared. I appreciate that. Okay, since I see Razleen also raised her hand. Razleen, I might go with you, and then I'll go Yared, and then we have another hand raised, Mahanor. So Razleen, can you tell me about your idea? It seems cool.
Sure. So we believe that young people shouldn't just be passive onlookers to the rising online polarization, cultural tensions, and the growing youth violence impacting Halifax, Atlantic Canada, and like basically all over the world, because youth ideas should never disappear the moment a microphone is turned off, and they should get a space to be heard. While Statistic Canada shows that 75% of youth in community groups gain a powerful sense of local belonging, UNESCO reports that over 40% of educators completely lack the tools to guide them, which leaves an urgent gap between student anxiety and meaningful action. The Tranquility Parade Conference (TPC) bridges this exact divide by dismantling the intimidating competitive barriers of traditional debate, replacing them with an inclusive pathway of non-competitive dialogue, multilingual cultural expression showcases, and a dedicated peace action incubator. It is backed by the Nova Noble Cause Society, which is a nonprofit organization, and it is proven by a successful 50-delegate pilot, which is a free youth-led platform that seamlessly transforms raw student concerns into structured, mentored community action plans, which advances local safety, cross-cultural understanding, and real-world peace building.
I too long, too much. You were something
Okay.
in the middle that was key,
Mhm.
and then it kind of got lost. The key was you said, why should youth voices not get lost in all this middle?
Yes.
Why?
Uh, so because the youth wi- youth violence is recently growing, and we want the youth an opportunity to be heard, basically.
And why is that important? Let's dig into it. Why is that important? Why should I listen to a youth? Like, you know, let's say I'm an older person. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. You're telling me they should be heard. Well, but why should I care?
Because
Gonna
they
think
have
about it,
a
Rosalie?
future, and yes, sorry,
Okay.
they have a
There you go. Okay,
future,
okay.
and
Hmm. Yeah, they have a
and they
future
are
and
the future. They have a future, and they are the future.
yeah, okay.
And
And they're present too by there, right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Rosalie, I
Mm-hmm.
think what you said, the content was good. It was good. All right. It was a lot. All right. One thing, by the
Okay.
way, a lot of you folks are going to struggle with this a lot. Is you're going to
Mm-hmm.
try and squeeze everything into 5 minutes. I know a bunch of you right now have all these things, and I'm like, oh, but we're gonna tell me if this is, if let me know if I'm wrong. But it's like, oh, but we missed this. But we have to add this. We have to add this. What do you have to add this? But sometimes in adding so much things, it can dilute the core message and that core why. Whatever you do and whatever you add, it needs to have that sense of um, that power needs to be there. So there was a lot of really beautiful stuff in what he said there, Resleen. I'm gonna challenge you to really kind of what's it called? Uh, uh, Streamline it into a more powerful message of that core why. Resleen, why are you even doing this? What inspired you to do this?
One of my recently in my neighborhood, I saw a death which was in my school, like old school, and I was really interested in making an impact, like making youth, like giving them youth a space to hear, to get heard,
It's
and
all being
they
around.
wanted to express. They
I like that
never
go
got
around.
like a debate.
Yeah.
They yes, there are
I,
some disturbed. Uh,
yeah. John, mute yourself, please. Okay, yeah, so sorry. Go ahead, Resleen.
Yes. So there were some students in my school that really lacked opportunities, and they wanted a space, and they were really scared of going into debate clubs,
Okay, there you go.
particularly in traditional debate. Yes.
Yeah. So you know what you are reflecting on there is the experience of young people who are scared to speak their voice, even though they
Hmm.
are not just the future, but the present, and they are the
Yeah.
change makers. And that is, and you know what? How do we weave that into that video? So Resleen, you've got all the ingredients. I love your idea. And I'm excited to see how you might refine this. Okay. I
Yeah.
love the hands. Oh my gosh, 7 hands is exciting. We're not going to get to 7 hands, but Yared, you had raised your hand early, so I'm going to get to you. So Yared, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. At Deep Energy, we believe we all share a responsibility to protect the environment, and we choose to act
Hmm.
on that responsibility. We do this by targeting greenhouse gas emissions, from the energy sector and exploring cleaner ways to generate and store electricity. That's why
Mhm.
we are developing deep energy, a gravity and buoyancy based system designed to provide durable, reliable, and consistent energy generation and
Mhm.
storage. That's
Mhm. Awesome. So yeah, let me reflect on something. You reflect on a very fair why, right? A very fair why is the global climate crisis, the greenhouse gases, and everything. I'm going to make a reflection here because I've seen how judges judge, and sometimes, and it's a fair point. I have seen the feedback. Hey, you spent a lot of time talking about the greenhouse problem and CO2s. But maybe an extra challenge for you is at most of the judges are convinced, right? Like they're like climate change is real. You don't have to tell me climate change is real, and I get that we have to reduce greenhouse gases, and so the why maybe needs to be expressed in a little bit of a different way. So, for example, you folks are doing a very unique kind of renewable energy, right? With waves. Am I correct? Am I?
yeah, yeah,
It was
you're
waves, right?
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, and so maybe there it's not just you have a dual challenge for sure. You can talk about the global problem, and that is a very real problem of like that's the problem which the One for Earth's all about, right?
yeah,
How do you do that? But then also it's to an audience who already they've seen they're already convinced. You don't have to an audience which is mostly like very convinced about the climate crisis. How do we center a why around the wave part is maybe the thing I might challenge you on, Yard. And I can tell
okay,
this because
yeah,
I have seen feedback from judges, specifically the
yeah,
environmental innovations in the energy space. They're like, okay, talk about greenhouse gases, but I kind of know that already, right? Like, yes, sure,
yeah,
it's relevant, but why waves? Why waves is almost like your challenge to think about.
okay.
So, but yeah, lots of good stuff there. I really liked it. Manur, I believe you were third, so I'm going to go to you next.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so okay, could I start?
Yes, yes, go for
Okay,
it.
okay, perfect. Okay. So our project, okay, period, exists because period poverty is still a hidden, under-addressed problem. So
Hmm.
essentially, 1 in 4 Canadians who menstruate have to choose between buying period products and
Hmm.
buying food. Yet the
Hmm.
issue isn't really a lack of funding or donations, it's a lack of visibility into where need is actually greatest. So
Hmm.
organizations are stuck reacting to requests instead of getting ahead of them, and communities like newcomers, immigrants, shelters, and encampments often fall through the cracks entirely. So we built OK Period to close that gap,
Hmm.
a mapping tool that uses machine learning on public data to surface where access is weakest. So
Hmm.
organizations can move from reactive distribution to proactive, targeted
Hmm.
support, helping more people manage their periods with dignity and independence.
Hmm. Okay, Manish, honestly, I really like that. I really, really like that because something that you did is you did start with the why, period poverty, and being such a big issue, and then you did something very strategic, which is then you narrowed it down a little bit, and you got to get stats. Okay, so I'm backing up his stats. I'm not just saying some nonsense, right? This is look at his stats. This is literal stats, right? And then you
Mhm,
narrow it down. You narrowed it down to communities, and now you're going into specific communities, and then is where a solution comes in, right? So I think
mhm.
there's a lot of strategy behind that, and so I think there this that well done. I'll say well done. Still some,
Thank you.
of course, as you folks refine it,
Mhm,
there's some opportunities. One thing I haven't heard as much from anyone yet is it is very powerful to bring in kind of when there is a personal angle to any story, like that can be a very powerful thing. But of course, it depends on each what your motivations were, right? For some people, it is looking at the stats and being like, okay, this is why I need to do something about this. For some people, there are experiences that they are reflecting on, which kind of inspire them to do something. You reflect on your why. Reflect on, and don't just give a why that you think is going to sell with judges. Reflect on why you did
mhm,
this like genuinely, and what
mhm.
is the thing that made you like not pick any other problem, but say no, this is the one that I'm going to spend this summer trying to figure out. So, Manur, lots of good stuff there. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, folks, I want to recognize we have so many amazing hands, 4 hands. I'm going to encourage y'all, if you want to share in the chat, go ahead and do that. I am aware that I'm a little bit behind already. So I may like continue, but then I want to encourage you folks to all continue to participate. I love the participation there. You are all awesome. Okay. Um, so I'm not going to get to everyone who raised their hands. My apologies. Feel free to share it in the chat. Also, by the way, things to explore these questions with your mentor. There is a wonderful pop-up mentor, Masi, who is our director of communication strategy and partnerships for YC, and has done a whole lack of work, especially in the equity and communication space. She is, I think you folks have that. If you want to book time with Mossy, please message us. Priority will be given to any teams which have, for whatever reason, not connected with their mentors for reasons that are outside their control. And if you are one of those teams, feel free to hang out a little bit there. We kind of want to sort that situation out. Depending on number of teams there are, we'll maybe Neely and we might do a little bit of strategy just to make sure that we're giving people the support they need. Okay. I have seen a lot of great mentor connections, so that's good. So feel free to share that, hey, I'm interested in meeting with Masi. We may, from an equity perspective, prioritize those folks not just on a first come first serve basis, but also who let's say at the end of this day, in terms of all the people who are interested, hasn't had a chance to connect with their mentors, even though they've been reaching out, they've done their part, and they didn't respond, for example, which occasionally happens, right? Sometimes you have all of our mentors are amazing, but sometimes things come up and they're not as responsive. Okay. Let me ask you this question, and I hope there'll be hands still raised and ready to answer this. How does this why thing apply to your pitch? So how might it change your approach to the pitch? Anyone want to go? What might you do different in the video pitch now that you've kind of come across this? Okay, there you go. Yared, go ahead.
Maybe start with why.
Sure. What is sure, of course. Like, what were you doing before Yared? Give it a
Well,
better sense of how it was before and how what are you thinking in your head you might change up now?
after after the feedback he gave me, I think now, at least personally, I will focus on the specific why. So narrowing
Mm-hmm.
down from climate change to the
Mm-hmm.
specific reason we are trying to solve, or the specific why we are trying to solve with
Sounds good.
yeah.
With a wave side, especially with waves, like why waves of like all the renewable energies? Why should I care about waves? I've never heard about waves, right? Most people, wave technology is not as developed, which is also what the opportunity is for you folks. Very fair point.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? No, yeah, Pradipta. Apologies if I have mispronounced your name. How do I pronounce your name?
Oh no, you pronounced it correctly.
Okay, great. Yes, go
Yes.
ahead.
I feel like making videos, it's like you have like a really unique opportunity there because
Hmm.
you can kind of like tell a story, right? So like with
Mm-hmm.
your why, you can kind of use that as like your plot line, I would say. So like when you're starting your video, you can kind of start with like a story or like a different perspective or like an example, kind of like a hook. You can say so you can kind of grab the
Mm-hmm.
viewers attention. So like from there you can kind of delve into like why you should care and then kind of like introduce your project
Mm-hmm.
like that.
I love that. Absolutely. The hook. I love this idea of a hook, right? So in the beginning, like, really think about, what is that hook? How are we going to get this audience to engage with you? Some of the audience, they're not subject matter specialists in your area, right? So they might not know your thing. And so you need to get them engaged. And if some of them may know a little bit of the thing, and even if they do, how are they still also going to be engaged? So yes, thinking about that hook is such a key point. All right, anyone else? If not, we're gonna do a little bit of an exercise, and this is where, guys, folks, I really want to highlight to y'all, just how different videos can be. Okay, we're gonna showcase a couple of videos for you, and then we're gonna ask you to compare and contrast them and reflect, reflecting on this concept of why as well. What are different folks doing, poorly, better, etc. And the one other thing that I'm going to also kind of reflect here is my apologies there. The other thing I'm going to reflect here is how, yes, not everyone will have a video making like background and an animation background, but you don't necessarily need that to deliver an effective presentation. Okay, so I'm going to share with you two videos, actually connected with staff from this year, which did really well. One was a Public Choice Award winner, one was a finalist, and I want you folks to reflect on what they did well and what they did poorly. These are both connected with staff. At this point, Nidhi, I'm going to ask you to pause the recording. With one note, I do not yet. I will note, folks, that for people who have opted into the Public Choice Award, some of those video submissions are on our Instagram. Okay, so and so if you do want to look at what have people done historically and get some inspiration, there is essentially like this beautiful gallery of amazing submissions. I thoroughly encourage you, as much to just get inspired, give it a look. Okay, so I'll be a shameless. I'll give a shameless plug to our Instagram. We have do please give us a follow and everything. And if you go down, you're gonna see these are some for climate change makers videos, which are also excellent. By the way, what is the climate change makers? The climate change makers challenge is a ideathon, which happens over the course of 3 days, which is done in partnership with One for Earth. It's a partnership with the other organization, which I have a leadership role at. And you start this one. You don't come in with an idea. You develop an idea within those 3 days. We run it every spring. I encourage you all to take part in this as well. Lots of fun, and it's a really really fun thing. And I encourage you to look at some of these videos. So this, I believe, is your video, Mike, and some amazing videos, which honestly each of them bring something unique. A heads up, not everyone opts into the Public Choice Award, and therefore, but for the folks who do, you can see, you can check out some of the things that they've put forward to get a bit of inspiration for what you might put forward. Sorry, was someone asking a question?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, go ahead, Nidhi.
Oh, yeah. We have a question in the chat. Someone says, how do you opt in for the Public Choice Award?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So when you complete your thing form, there's going to be a round two submission form, which I've intentionally not sent to you because we don't want to overwhelm you with things. Right now, you're just going to work on your stuff, but likely on Monday, maybe tomorrow, probably Monday. We're going to send you the form, which you're going to have to where you actually submit your video, and there's going to be a little button there to say I want to opt into a Public Choice Award. Even for non-top 20 peeps, they have an opportunity to also take part in the Public Choice Awards, and there's like a message that goes out. Does anyone want to take part in it? In their case, though, since the default is we use the video content that you created, and if someone does, you can also kind of opt in for a different. You have to send us the material, so be like, hey, this is representing my team, so these are some graphics that represent my team, and we would like to kind of explore a Public Choice Award. So yeah, it's a great choice, great question. All right, this does not impact your scoring per se in terms of the other awards. It's just, you get to maybe win this other cool award. Okay, any other questions that I am missing here, Nidhi?
No more questions.
Okay, that sounds good. One note, folks, I am running behind. Okay, I'm running about 15 minutes behind. This is recorded, so if people need to jump off, that is perfectly okay. I just want to recognize that, yeah, you know what? I will have no regrets about doing things like intros and whatnot because I get to know you wonderful people a little bit. Just if you do need to run off or whatever, completely respect that. I know we have 15 minutes left with probably about 30 minutes of content, and I do want to kind of show you some of these videos. Okay, if we're good here, I am going to share Beulah Pan Am's amazing video. It's one of my favorite videos, curated by staff at YIC, or folks who became staff at YIC. We hire alumni, by the way. Maybe some of you are going to be working for us, and I hope some of you will work for us. But check out this video, and then we're going to check out the video that Nidhi's team submitted as well. Each of them, this is a Public Choice Award winner. The other one is was a finalist, and so each brought different things. Nidhi, are you okay just stopping the recording here or pausing? You cannot stop. Do not stop. Pause, please. Pause the recording.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So, folks, you have seen a couple videos, and across all of them, what is we center the why? We've talked about that, but what is the most important thing that we want to get across? Is the team's what? Starts with S.
Story.
Story, yay! Oh my gosh, yes, it's story. Okay, the team story, right? All of you have a story for why you're here. All of you have a story for, why you. This is the thing that you picked. Why it brought all these three, four, five people together. That is the core of your challenge. Is how do you share this effective story? Is not just here's the problem and solution and impact. It is actually how do we make all of that flow so there is that effective story. Okay. So with that, folks, we're coming to the end and coming to the rubric section of our kind of exploration of things. I'm going to switch back to our screen here and kind of reflect on these elements of your rubric and how do these different things interact. You're going to see that in the rubric, there are all of these different elements. We look at the examples. There's problem identification, the potential for social impact, the strength of the founding team, quality of innovation, pineapple implementation, overall impressions. I'm going to go through them each a little bit and then kind of talk about things that are important for each. One thing that I want to kind of really highlight here is so often people focus on one element at the expense of the others. So sometimes people spend so much time talking about the problem that they don't really talk about their team at all, right? And that team seems to be it's probably the most consistently missed thing. We have this incredible set of folks. And by the way, there are ways you can weave that in, right? There are ways that, if the problem relates to the team and their story, then there's a way that you can actually bring some of those elements together. A key thing for you folks is how do you weave things together in that clear story so that it all flows. Flow is going to be a key word. Flow, how do you make one thing flow to the other where everything seems connected? And that is how you're going to get those overall impressions points. With this, I'm going to now go into the actual rubric, okay? Where is I had a tab where I had the rubric up. Give me one moment. I'm just going to pull up the rubric. Okay, actually, I see it. I do have it up. I'm just going to go into some of the different elements here and go through each part. So first of all, problem identification. One thing, what kind of sets people apart is folks who don't just have stats, but they've got those testimonials to back them up. They've got real life lived experience, perhaps. They've got they do combine that with some stats and stuff. They've got some kind of primary research. So in terms of like interviews, surveys, and they've actually gone out and talked to real people. So a strong evidence of primary research is what really gets you that. If that is something you're missing, there may be a very valuable strategic a thing for you folks to step back a bit with your project and just think about, okay, have we talked to real stakeholders, or are we just kind of saying something that sounds cool but isn't necessarily going to be what stakeholders align with? And take that time to maybe assign someone on your team to like, hey, we need to do a blitz and try and reach as many people as we can in the limited time we have in terms of problem identification. What about quality of innovation? One thing that I'm going to share here is, we talk about ideas standing out as innovative, exciting, and new and solving a unique problem. I want to recognize here that, look, the nature of innovation is that there's no idea that's completely new, right? Different ideas and projects, they take inspiration from different things, and that's okay. But sometimes it is the way you package it that can be new. Sometimes it is new in a particular context. For example, in this part of the world, there's something that isn't there, but I've adapted my solution to fit this part of the world, and really think about, how there is some level of uniqueness to it. Here too, sometimes, there's what else is going on to address the problem. Usually every problem that you can identify, even the energy problem, for example, we talked about earlier, that is being solved right now. It's being solved maybe by fossil fuels. It may be being solved by other renewable energy, but then part of the case is, okay, what makes us unique, and why is that uniqueness actually give us some kind of advantage? Now here, you think about the strong analysis of other solutions. Ignoring what other people do is oftentimes, that's a very common feedback. Is like, hey, sure, you're doing something interesting, but I feel like other people are doing things which you are maybe too close to, or how are you different? Is a common question we get. Actually, that's one when we gave feedback, asked for feedback from judges. One of the things they often talked about is, hey, it often seems like there are projects which seem similar-ish over the course of the year. So how ultimately are you different, and or complementary. And complementary is an important thing, right? Even if you're not like, oh, I'm like, for example, YC, we're not going to pretend that, running an innovation challenge is the most unique thing ever, because there's variations of that exist. But we want to create something that's complementary in the ecosystem. For example, we see there's a lot of business competitions that are out there, and we are providing a kind of venture development program that is much more focused on the audio side of, the impact side of things. Similarly, how do you so again, the willingness to work with others is a key thing. But on this note, what is very powerful is any partnerships you've actually secured. So it's like the pump sorry, with biospecs, they talked about their partnership with pump. They talked about how this network of different things and whatnot. And so like there's like really think about on your end, how are you leveraging all these different partnerships and the like as well. The proposal articulates a clear and detailed idea of what positive impact the project will be. So in terms of environmental social impact, have you actually talked about the impact your project is going to have? Do you have measurables? Do you have like a plan of actually how you're going to measure that? Or is it just like, oh yeah, I'm going to reach 10,000 people? How? And how are you going to measure it? And is that the impact metric, or are there other impact metrics that are relevant? You may reach 10,000 people, but how do you know that you're going to actually make a positive impact, and what are the metrics? And so this is where, when we are an impact-driven challenge, really think about what that looks like. Break it down. I think this is where, for example, the Biospecs team had done a particularly good job in terms of explaining the impact. Where I'll say in our video there. Now, some of the other teams, and they had the kind implementation has been something which a lot of teams do very well. So do you have a clear strategy of how you're going to get there? The strategy needs to really center on being realistic, right? It's important to be dreamy and like be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do this, this, this. Great. But do you have an understanding of the barriers to getting into things? Have you started local, right? A lot of folks, they have all of these ambitious goals, but ultimately, what is often the most powerful thing is to say, you know what, we are going to create our kind of science education program in at this locality in Toronto, and then we're going to expand to Ottawa, and then we're going to expand to Calgary. Like there's a little bit of a sense of progression, right? And so think about those kinds of things as well, and it kind of demonstrate a team having deep awareness of the complexities involved in the problem. And what that means is, yes, it's important that you be ambitious, but then also understand that there's other things in play. There's going to be a workshop. It's going to be after the round two period. It's going to be on systems thinking, and this is where a systems thinking lens is valuable at a high level. It is like, hey, if some of you are doing healthcare innovations, and that's great, but well, let's think about all of those. It's not just about the innovation around, let's say, addressing issues around period health. There's also about the community supports that exist. What's happening at the hospital level? What is happening at a community center level, right? Really understanding the ecosystem, and teams that show that awareness of the complexities of that ecosystem are ones which score well in this sense. So yes, tell us what you're going to do, but also show that awareness of all those complexities. The founding team, consistently, this is the one that everyone misses on, and is the least kind of paid attention to. But really, look, you folks are all amazing, right? And each of you have different stories which brought you together. Talk about those stories of why you are together as a team, and talk about how each of you bring in these different skill sets, and why it is that you are the team to back. And and sometimes you're going to recognize that, hey, you know what, we're a cool team, but we are lacking things as well. That awareness of gaps can really go a long way. In fact, I'm going to say something in our rubric in general is a sense that, hey, sure, tell us all the good things, but like, are you taking a realistic lens of like the things you need to work on as well? And that shows up across the rubric in terms of an awareness of gaps and challenges and those kinds of things as well. And overall impressions. And this is where, by the way, a strong video, a strong story, that strong why really comes through, because not everything can be captured in rubrics. It can really touch someone's heart when you're like, okay, it's not just stats, right? There are real people behind it. I see someone's heart here. I see like a real freaking person that I want to support, and I see this team unity. The energy comes through, and when that can really move someone. So this is where can we like move the judge to actually really want to give your team that chance. And so this is where storytelling becomes so important. Yeah, this is where we think about, how well the information was presented in terms of aesthetic, structure, clarity. This is where, we think about those things like lived experience as well. And judges have the most discretion here. But what I'm going to really kind of center here is an effective story is oftentimes what can really get you those overall impression points. If I can say at a general level, in sum, all of which is most important, they're all important. They're all weighted equally, overall impressions being weighted at 5 compared to the rest. You need to weave different elements into it. The key thing is that there is a story and there is a flow to it. Some people will start with a team and talk about, hey, this is our team and we came together because of this problem, and this had led to our solution, and this is the implementation. That there's different ways in terms of ordering things. What I'm going to really kind of warn you against is ensuring that you're giving attention to each of the different things, but also not overdoing it where you're cramming information down people's throat. The story and that storytelling needs to be maintained in order for that effective video to come through. There's a little bit of strategy in terms of how best you do it. Final thing I'm going to say is bonus points. You can read the kind of the round 2 guidance here. Essentially, engage with your mentors, and they are going to have an opportunity to basically say, you know what, I really like working with this team. I'm going to give them anywhere from 0 to 2 points, or sometimes 3. Sometimes a mentor is like, I really like working with a team, and I think there's something special about it, and we're going to give them a 3. Also, if you are like engaging in mentorship and then also like engaging in our workshops, you might be getting those 3s as well, right? So a lot of teams that show essentially engagement, both with the mentors and in our workshops, those teams are going to be getting those points. And Nidhi is going to be taking attendance and things like that. And so, yeah, that's how you get, you can really get a little bit of a boost. Ultimately, you need a strong video to be competitive. But a big thing that we really want to encourage is that engagement and be strategic. I think someone was saying, and maybe not everyone has to attend every call. We know we are intentionally doing some calls. We're doing one session of this in the evening, and then tomorrow afternoon we're doing another one because we want to make sure that's accessible. There's going to be some workshops that are more in the evening, and usually a lot of our workshops are in the evening. We try to spread it out so that different people can engage. And so, and if, by the way, for whatever reason, you're like, hey, with whatever time challenges I have, and what's going on in my life, it's hard for me to engage at the same level, reach out to us. And maybe then it's like, okay, for your team, since you had circumstances come up where you couldn't necessarily engage in person, or live, I should say, we'll find ways where you can watch the video and still get kind of credit for it or consideration for it. But the big thing there is ultimately just be engaged, right? Slack is there, the email is there, communicate, be engaged, and we are, we're going to be excited to see how you all do. So, folks, I have crammed a lot there. We are at the end. I went a little bit over my extra 15 minutes. Now I went an extra 20 minutes. But thank you all. And I'm so excited to check out your videos. So grateful that you are all here. I'm going to hang out to just take any additional questions and kind of go through some of those next steps. Please make sure you're engaging with your mentors. Your videos are due on the 11th at noon. There's going to be that link that we also share to that form we're going to be sharing likely on Monday, where your folks are going to submit. So I'm excited to see what you all come up with. Start with our why, folks. Center storytelling, and it's going to be good. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all. I can stop the video recording. Thank you.